Detroit!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Wrap Up. Dan Myers, Nick Buckler, with you as always. Dan, is there a playoff tune playing for the NFL team in town, your Detroit Lions?
Quite possibly will be.
Come on.
It's distant, but I can hear it going, and it's almost audible, but we'll see.
No, it's non-existent. It's pathetic, and it's the typical Detroit way. They win a couple games against some garbage-ass teams, and all of a sudden, they could be the next thing. Okay, sure, they win in Lambeau. Congrats. The blind dog finds the bone.
That's huge. That's a huge accomplishment for them to win at Lambeau. It only took us, 20-odd years to do that, though?
Okay. That's great. Let me continue, please. They win at home against Oakland, who, let me tell you, in their last 24 games on the road, the Oakland Raiders are 2-22. Congrats, Lions. You beat Children of the Blind. Moving on to the Philadelphia Eagles on Thanksgiving Day. The Eagles are in just an absolute debacle. They're rebelling against their coach, Chip Kelly, and they just don't like the way he's made bonehead trades. They have Mark Sanchez as their quarterback. It's another team that's just in demise. And really, I don't think the Lions have any business being more than a 500 team at best in their last 5-6 games of the year.
Yeah, let's hope so. Although I thought that the game on Thanksgiving was pretty promising. I mean, they did rack up some points, which normally the typical Lions team that we've seen so far this year, aside from the past 4 games, really hasn't been able to do that clearly. But it was some promise. But I'm trying to be optimistic for once. It's easy to get down on this team, but then again, it's really easy to get excited for this team too. So you got to find yourself in a certain check.
That's one thing about Lions fans, that they win one game and all of a sudden they think that this team's Super Bowl. All of a sudden they get, we got Haloti Ngata, this team's going to the ship. Okay, that's a huge downgrade from Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley. Don't get me wrong, Haloti Ngata has been one of the better defensive tackles of late in the last 5 to 10 years. But if that's your answer for losing Suh and Nick Fairley, don't get me wrong, they've had great play from Ziggy Ansah this entire year. He had 2 more sacks on Thursday. And so let's say the Lions win out and go 5-0 in their next 5. All games winnable, but realistically tough for any team to win 5 straight. Let's go. They have 7 teams to pass in the wild card still. So say they win out. They have a lot of work ahead of them, and they need teams to fall in front of them. They have Green Bay leads the wild card at 7-4. Then they have Seattle, who's in the final spot at 6-5. Atlanta is also 6-5. Then you have Tampa Bay, the Giants, and Chicago all at 5-6. And then the slew of 4-7 teams, including the Lions, St. Louis Rams, New Orleans, and the Philadelphia Eagles. So beating New Orleans on the road would be huge. They still have another game against Chicago, another game against Green Bay coming up Thursday. And these games are big, but at the same time, even if they win out, still a lot to happen for them.
There's a lot of magic that has to happen aside from them just winning. And yeah, you're right. There's a lot of alternatives that need to happen, but stranger things have happened in the NFL. I mean, it is just something weird can happen to a star player, and then all of a sudden that team's out of the rankings, and it just goes from there. But we'll see. It is a huge hill to climb, and there's definitely a lot of alternative stuff that has to happen too. So I don't really see it happening. I mean, it'd be nice if they could pull it off. It'd be a nice way to go out with the season, but yeah, that's too steep of a hill for them to be able to take care of.
There's a saying called "Same Old Lions." I don't know if anyone's ever heard it. Here's what's going to happen this year for the same old Lions. They're going to win their next 4 games. They're going to be 8-7 going into Soldier Field, Week 17. Jim Caldwell has these guys rallying. Jim Bob Cooter, Jim Bob Ball is happening in Detroit. They go to Soldier Field and get throttled. They go 8-8. They miss the playoffs by 1 game. They bring back Caldwell. Jim Bob, sign him to an extension. Hey, Terrell Austin, you're back too. Stafford inked to a 57-year contract extension. Pay him $7.3 billion. They even get Detroit Don and Detroit Superfan on the offensive line. These guys are there. The Lions, 8-8. That's the same old Lions. They don't make the playoffs, but they're happy with mediocrity, and they've been. Maybe Martha Ford is the answer. Maybe she'll change the way things are. She already has. They're 3-0 since Martha Ford has cleaned house, so to speak. But they need a lot of great play. And what I did like from Thanksgiving, Matthew Stafford, 5 touchdowns, 3 of them to Calvin Johnson. That's something that they've gotten away from this year. They have not thrown the ball down the field to Calvin Johnson. When they have, look what happens. They did that the Chicago game. They won. They did that against Philly. They won. Those are the only 2 games they did it. They won. Their offense was invisible against Green Bay, although they won. Their offense was subpar and below subpar against Oakland. They won. Let's build off this game from Thursday. Green Bay is down in the dumps right now. Sure, they're 7-4, but they've lost 3 of their last 4 games, and they've lost now at home against Chicago, at home against Detroit in the same season for the first time since 1991. And they did not do Brett Favre justice on Brett Favre night, losing to the Bears 17-13 on Thanksgiving night. They're going to be hungry. It's just a matter of how hungry are the Lions going to be. And for me, I don't think they'll answer the bell because they don't get juiced for games. They always come out stale. Always.
Yeah, they do.
The first half, they just get dominated. Dominated. They're never hungry. The Lions are not a hungry team. We're collecting a paycheck team.
Yep.
There's no drive in the Lions. And I don't care, I know somebody in the team, and they try hard. Sure they do. They're professional athletes. They're good. There's just no drive. There's no heart. There's no willpower on this team. And if there is, they need to show it. Now's the time. This Green Bay game is not going to be easy. I don't care if they're at home. I don't care how depleted Green Bay is right now. I don't care how bad Aaron Rodgers is playing. They're a good football team.
Yeah.
Lions are not a good football team. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, if they could strike quick and fast that first game, I really think it'll. Let's be real right now. I mean, if you were watching that game last week, Green Bay's head really isn't there. They are depleted. That's a great way to describe them. And like you said, another thing is they need to have that heart. And see what you say. Football's one of the toughest sports, and you have to have at least some sort of heart to want to do that every Sunday. But I think if the Lions can strike early and take them off this rebuilding that Green Bay's trying to figure out with themselves internally, they might be able to win the game. But there's a lot of debris that they got to go through in order to pull off a win in Green Bay or versus Green Bay. So
yeah, that definitely needs to happen. We're gonna switch gears now before my heart explodes of anger. We're gonna keep it in football. Throw the pigskin around more than Michigan did because they didn't look good at all Saturday. It was a tough one. The roughing the punt call changed the game for Michigan.
Absolutely.
They stuffed Ohio State inside the 5. They were going to get the ball back. Just a freshman mistake by number 33. I can't remember his name. J.U. Cheston was going up for the block, kind of turned over because he realized he was not going to get the ball and he was going to rough the kicker. 33, the freshman, comes in, smokes his legs, automatic 15. No argument about it whatsoever. But that Ohio State then went on to score the first touchdown of the game at that point. And Michigan, they drove down the field, although they were held to a field goal. And at 14-3, when Ezekiel Elliott walked into that end zone, you just kind of knew Michigan just didn't have it.
Yeah.
There was no answer for Ezekiel Elliott, no answer for J.T. Barrett. They were running all over. Their defensive line just didn't really show up to that game. And one thing I didn't like, it just shows the lack of class for Ohio State, was when Bosa injured Jake Rudock. Last year or 2 years ago, I don't know if you remember, it was last year when J.T. Barrett went down. They injured him. Devin Gardner went over to him when he was laying on his back, puts his hand, wishes him well, get well soon kind of thing. That's class. That's Michigan. Okay? Now let's switch gears to Saturday when Bosa just dismantles Rudock, breaks his shoulder into 1,100 pieces, and he's laying lifeless on the field of the Big House. The game's already out of reach. Michigan's not coming back. What does he do? Laughs about it on the sideline, and then it gets better. Yesterday, he posted a picture on Instagram of him celebrating Rudock's corpse in the background. It says, "Sorry, Jake." Where's the class? I mean, I wouldn't expect any. It's Ohio State. It's Urban Meyer, the biggest DB on this side of the Mississippi, let's be honest. Defensive back, if you were wondering. It's just, come on. It's what I would expect.
Yeah.
What I want to see now, what I expect, Harbaugh, Meyer, pay-per-view. We don't want Rousey. We don't want Floyd Mayweather. Manny Pacquiao, get out of here. I want Urban Meyer, and I want Jim Harbaugh.
That'd be great. That would be fantastic.
I would pay top dollar to see that. But point of the story, Michigan's likely going to play in the Citrus Bowl against Notre Dame is that's what the rumblings are around college football. The Citrus Bowl tweeted yesterday, "We would be dumb to pass up this certain team who is on the verge of greatness. If we don't see him now, we might not see him for the next 10 years."
Wow.
That's a subtweet if I've ever seen it. And to me, that's Michigan. Yeah. And then there's also rumblings that Notre Dame will come in to play them. Notre Dame, Michigan, Citrus Bowl, I don't care what bowl it is, that's a game. Mm-hmm. I don't care if that's the toilet bowl, the other usage bowl. I don't care. That's a game. That's two powerhouse schools duking it out. Notre Dame just missed out on the playoff on a field goal as time expired in Stanford. So there's that. They're a top 5 team, top 10 team. Michigan's likely going to drop to 12, 15. Still a good team. Still likely going to get a New Year's Day bowl. And now let's switch gears to East Lansing, where Michigan State dismembers Penn State at home, 55-16. And now they will travel to Indy to play the Iowa Hawkeyes in the Big Ten championship game this Saturday. The winner of that game is likely in the college playoff of Final Four. Right now, the Iowa Hawkeyes are number 4. Michigan State right up there now at number 6. Likely going to jump maybe to 5. But the winner of that game is in, to me. Mm-hmm. They're in. And the loser, they're still playing for the Rose Bowl. So let's be honest. I think Michigan State blows out Iowa. Iowa doesn't play anyone all year. The Big Ten West is an awful side of the division. They didn't have to play Ohio State. They didn't have to play Michigan State. They didn't have to play Michigan. There's the 3 best teams to me in the Big Ten. Iowa struggled. They survived against Nebraska. They struggled against whomever else. I think Michigan State wins, and they win large in this game. I don't know what you have to say.
Yeah, after that game last week, with all the negativity that had been spit at Michigan State, just regardless of how they won the games, that was huge to see them rack up the score. They needed to do that, to be honest with you, especially if they wanted any hope of the college playoff. But yeah, no. Hopefully it'll be a pretty easy game for them to blow out Iowa, but we'll see. State struggled at worse teams, so yeah, I'm agreeing with you. Regardless of how it goes, the Rose Bowl is a terrific way to end the season, if not the college playoff. So yeah, it's exciting. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely going to see how it goes, and the loser could also play in the Fiesta Bowl, which is still what was formerly known as one of the BCS Bowls. Switch gears over now to baseball. The Tigers make a big addition to their rotation, signing Jordan Zimmermann, the 29-year-old right-handed pitcher from the Washington Nationals, to a 5-year, $110 million deal. He's a 2-time All-Star. He won 13 games last season, and he's going to bolster the top half of that rotation. The rotation looks kind of like this. You have Justin Verlander, Anibal Sanchez, Jordan Zimmermann, Daniel Norris, and possibly Matt Boyd in that last spot. You got Buck Farmer. Randy Wolf could get tried out in spring training. You also have Kyle Lobstein in there as well. And don't count out the other guy we got from the Mets in that trade who pitched in Double-A ball last year. They say he's pretty good as well.
Yeah, and there's still talks about them going out and signing another starter. Whether or not they will, there's a couple other positions they need to work on, but it obviously won't be as big of a paycheck as Zimmerman's getting. But hey, we could use it. I mean, look at these past couple of seasons. I mean, we've had starters who were supposed to show up and be there, and clearly didn't happen. So to have some in the backup is always a safe plan, and we'll see how that goes. I'm excited for it. Over 70 career wins for him, for Zimmermann, so that's huge. And just give Verlander and Sanchez some relief.
Exactly, and I think they still are talking about other starting pitchers, whether it be Iwakuma, who most recently pitched with the Yankees, Gallardo from Texas, and recent rumblings of Doug Fister, who we are very familiar with here in Detroit. One of the worst deals of Dave Dombrowski's career, but maybe Al Avila says, all right, we'll bring him back. He already parted ways with his son recently. Alex Avila, the longtime Tigers catcher, has now signed a 1-year deal with the Chicago White Sox. So we'll be seeing a lot of him in interdivision games. Yeah,
we will. And hopefully we'll be happy with the trade and what we got for him. Hopefully he's not coming back to bite us, but I highly doubt that'll happen. We'll see.
The only thing he's going to be biting is himself when he walks back to the dugout after a lot of strikeouts, because we've seen that here in Detroit.
1 or 2 times, right?
100, maybe. He's a 100 strikeout a year kind of guy. The Red Wings were in action this week quite a bit. Every game they played in this week went to overtime. Yeah. And I made a bold prediction last week, said they get 6 out of 6 points. I was wrong. They got 4, but I'll take 4 out of 6. They lose in overtime Wednesday to the Boston Bruins in a game that they really dominated. Dylan Larkin with the lone goal, and Dylan Larkin has been a freak, let's be honest. This guy's the real deal. Leads all rookies in the NHL with 10 goals now after his goal on Sunday against Florida. Also a 2-1 overtime loss. That game, more of, okay, we're lucky to get a point. However, on Wednesday, they dominated the game, blow it late. And here's a stat for you. When Boston scored with 1:29 left in the third to tie the game, that was the 5th under 6-minute blown lead for the Red Wings this year. They did the same thing, under 6 minutes on Sunday. Now 6 games this season where they've blown a 1-goal lead with under 6 minutes in the third.
Yeah.
By far the most in the NHL, and that's something that's very problematic for this team. If they need to be strong, it's going to be in the last 5-6 minutes of a game. Peter Mrazek's been great. Jimmy Howard's been above average this year. And it's not fair to these goaltenders that these guys are blowing leads. It's like they're sitting on their heels and just trying to play defense, which is fine. They've been doing a good job. Their D has not been the problem this year. Their offense has been the struggle. They have the 3rd least amount of goals in the whole conference this year. The only teams with less goals are the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Buffalo Sabres. Then the Wings. Right now the Wings sit at the 3rd position in the division, the Atlantic Division, behind Ottawa and obviously Montreal. But Montreal now without their star goaltender, Carey Price, for upwards of 6 weeks as he's dealing with a lower body injury. So Condon, the rookie, is going to go back in there, and this could be the time for teams like Detroit to make a drive for that number 1 spot. But they haven't lost in regulation in their last 8 games. So they're getting points. And I guess that's all you can ask for. Just rack up as much points as you can now, because you don't know what it's going to come down to come April.
Right. Yeah, and that loss Sunday against the Panthers was a real gut blow. Yeah, that's a team I have a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot more of as far as watching them and trying to. They're going to be on our coattails. I have high hopes. I think they're going to be a sleeper team, and they are doing pretty solid. But what can you say about Peter Mrazek that hasn't already been said? He was looking incredible. That game on Sunday was just.
Yeah. Did you see that shirt he was wearing? Oh, top dollar.
Yeah, he is just insane. But. Yeah, watch out. That was really real tough for to lose to someone in our division, especially the Panthers. But yeah, they obviously had the Wings number in that overtime, and then I think it was Cronwall that possibly screened Mrazek during that slap shot.
And he was run into right before it as well. So there's that. There was a challenge in the game as well at the beginning. Yeah. I don't know if you saw that, where Florida Gerard Gallant, head coach, made a challenge that there was no contact on Peter Mrazek when Florida scored early in the game. That ended up being waved off, saying that there definitely was contact, which was blatantly obvious that there was. I think it was a wasted challenge. They lose their timeout. Red Wings steal momentum. Dylan Larkin scores his rookie-leading 10th goal of the year. Now leads Max Domi, Ty Domi's son, out in Arizona. Let's go back to Friday against Edmonton. Offense shows up for 4 goals, but they blow the lead late again. Yeah. They had a 3-2 lead. With about 3 minutes left, and then the Edmonton Oilers score. And just like that, it's 3-3. We're going to overtime. Cronwall puts the puck on Mike Nugent-Hopkins' tape right at the top of the crease, and he fans on it. Yeah. Cronwall answers the bell 14 seconds later with the game-winning goal on a no-look pass from Dylan Larkin as he uses his speed to break out of that zone. This guy's a freak. And if you don't think so, you don't know the game of hockey. Let me tell you something. I don't know what you think, but I think this guy's the real deal, Holyfield.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm almost willing to reach out and say, obviously he's doing better than Connor McDavid this year, who was supposed to be the poster child for the next 20 years of the NHL. But Dylan Larkin he blows me away every time. I feel like I'm watching a young Pavel Datsyuk as far as the amazement of the speed he pulls off, the shots he pulls, the goals he pulls off. Wow, how exciting. I just, hope this guy stays healthy. Hope he's around for a long time in the organization, and yeah, it's a roller coaster to watch. I mean, not a roller coaster. It's just fun to watch him, And so we'll see how he does. I'm so excited we got him.
Yeah, definitely. And a guy who isn't going to be hanging around much longer, Kobe Bryant. He retires from the NBA via poem. I don't know if you read his poem. He writes a poem that will announce his retirement. He's 37 years old, played his entire career with the LA Lakers, and he's a 5-time NBA title holder, NBA champion. So congrats to Kobe on a great career, and congrats to you, Dan.
For me.
Yeah, another great episode of the wrap-up in the books. You know,
Perfect.
that's all you can ask for, right? Every Monday you tune in, you see Dan Myers here for the wrap-up. Episode 33, the Chris Draper edition. Saying goodbye, Nick
Patrick
Buckler,
Waugh.
Dan Myers. Have a great day.